it's Rachel from the So Happy Quilters Association, and today I'm going to show you how to sew a lovely grandma's flower onto a tote bag so it looks a little bit like that. And I'm going to be showing you what's inside the kit and how to sew it on. So let's go and do that. Currently these are in our SHQA.co.uk shop. You can buy them. How long they're going to last, I don't know. Whether we're going to restock them, I don't know. But if we don't have them in our shop when you're looking, then you could still go ahead and make one of these lovely little hexiform flowers. So I'm going to show you what is inside the kit. So inside the kit, what you get is a lovely little pack, and inside the pack a little sewing kit, a little cotton, a little teeny tiny pair of scissors, a couple of quilters clips, and also a needle threader should you need that. In the kit you also have 14 squares of fabric and 14 Hexiform hexagons. As you know, I love Hexiform. And then you're going to get a lovely little tote bag. So I'm going to show you how we're going to sew them. So the squares that I've pre-prepared are actually 1, 2, 3.5 inch squares, and then the hexiforms are a 1.5 inch hexagon. You measure it by around the edge. So what you're going to do, we're going to make one of the flowers to go on the tote bag. So it looks like this. So you have 7 hexagons to make a grandma's flower. So the first thing you're going to do is you need to get your center one, this one, and then all the other 6 should be the same in your kit. Or of course, if you're making it just at home, just watching it, then you could do them all in different fabrics if you want to. So you're going to first of all get your center fabric, and then you're going to get your other fabrics. These are actually cut in a Disney fabric, which is quite cute. So you need to place the hexiform roughly in the middle of the fabric. And I would have said this in my previous videos about hexiform, that it has a woven side and it has a fluffy side. You always make sure that the fluffy side is down and the woven side is up. If you want to, you can use some quilters clips to hold it down. And what you would do is you would go around each side and you would put a clip on it to hold it down. And then you can carry on going around doing all of them. It's quite difficult to do if the hexiform is actually quite small, but obviously in big hexagons it's very easy to do quilters clips around it. So I am going to get sewing. So the next thing to do is to get your needle threaded. So with the cotton, you don't necessarily need to put a knot on the end. You can just do what I call a lock-in stitch on the end. Obviously this is just how I stitch it. Other people do it in different ways. So then what you're going to do is you're going to start stitching. So I would recommend stitching on one of the folds of the hexagon. So you are going to put your needle into there. I'm just going to move that little clip back because it's kind of in my way. And then you pull it so you have a little tail. You put the needle back into the same position again, and then you're going to do over about 3 times, because doing that will give you a lock-in stitch. And what you're trying to do with hexiform is you're trying to just go through the fabric and the hexiform and not through the back. But obviously this is a hand-stitched item, so if it does go through the back, don't worry about it. So what you're going to now do is you're going to now carry on stitching all the way around. So you're just going to do like a little whip stitch halfway through the middle, and then you're going to fold down the other side, and then you're going to put another stitch in, and you're going to come back using the cotton, and so it catches the corner, and then you're going to keep going all the way around. The clips are helpful if you want to use those, but you don't necessarily have to. And then when you get to the last corner of the hexagon, that is where you're going to finish, because you do not need to come across to here because you've already caught that bit down. So you're just going to go to there, and then because this is the end, you're going to do another locking stitch there. So you're going to put the needle in 3 times, and that will give you a locking stitch. So then you're going to snip the cotton. Then you've got your very first hexagon stitched in Hexiform. So now we're going to carry on and stitch the other 6. As you can see, they are quite quick to stitch. With Hexiform, you don't need to take them out, you leave them in, because it is like a wadding. So it's much quicker to do than traditional paper piecing. It's also much softer on your hands. So that is the next one. So what you need to remember with Hexiform is that you are literally using the template of the Hexiform to fold your fabric over. I absolutely love making grandma's flowers. It's quite a traditional shape to do, and the reason why these are in a Disney fabric is because I did a little patchwork class on the Disney Dream, and there were quite a few people that came to my little patchwork class, and I set quite a few of them on a little patchwork journey, which was really, really lovely. And while I was doing the class, Rapunzel came past and was showing me her little stitching on her dresses, which was really, really cute. We will put some of those photos up for you to see. So as you can see, I now have 4 of them made, which are going to be like that. And now I'm going to do the ones to go around here. Then I'm going to show you how to stitch them together. And there you are. There is my 7th and final hexagon to go into a grandma's flower. I would definitely recommend ironing them at this stage before we stitch them together, which is what I'm going to do now. So now I have ironed them, and you're probably wondering, how do we put this together? So I'm going to show you. So first of all, we need to place them how you want the fabric to go, if it's a directional fabric or if you want them all in the same direction. What I'm going to try and do is place the fabrics all in the same direction so that when they're on the bag they're facing the same direction. Once you've got them in place, what you could do is you could take a photograph at this point, and then you can refer back to that, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. And then we're going to start stitching together. So it doesn't really matter where you start, apart from you always start in the middle with one of the petals, but it doesn't matter which of the petals. So we're going to start with these 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your right side of fabric to right side of fabric, flip it on top of each other, and then I would recommend putting a clip either side where you're going to stitch. So now we're going to stitch along that line. And whereas before you were doing a whip stitch, what you're now going to do is an over and over stitch. So you are going to do that locking stitch there, do it in 3 times over, because this is what I call a junction, and you need to give that extra strength when you're putting them together. So then you're going to keep on going up to here. Putting these clips in as well also stops it from moving when you're trying to sew it, so that's quite helpful.
I'm just pausing this video just to tell you about an amazing charity that we partner with called Tools for Self-Reliance. We are going to be helping them raise funds to provide the training for the girls in Africa to have their own tailoring business through our sew-a-thons, through our stash sales and through our talks, which are all bookable through our website to help raise the funds for this amazing charity. So please do check them out.
So when you get to the end, now you've stitched all the way up here, you get to the end, you are then going to do another lock-in stitch over and over in the same position there. And then you're going to snip your cotton and take your clips off. And then you should have something that looks like that. So you've got two together. So now we're going to place the next petal. So if you remember, I'm trying to do them all in the same direction. So the next one is going to go here. So I'm going to now place this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to put right side of fabric to right side of fabric, and you're going to go that way, because what you want to try and do is keep your cotton in the same direction. So you're going to flip it over to there, hold it like that. Again, you're going to put some quilters clips in it to keep it still. I would put one there and I'd put one there, because you're going to stitch up this bit. So you're going to start at the top and work your way down. Now you're probably wondering, how do we now do this bit? So you're going to literally take your clips off. You're then going to fold that one over onto that one. So it kind of like makes that hexagon go into like a little half. And then what I definitely recommend you do is put some clips in it to stop it moving when you're stitching it. So you're going to put one there. And because we're going to do this line here, I'm going to put one here. So now we're going to stitch up here. Keep on stitching. Now when you get to this one, what you don't want to do is you don't need to cut the cotton, because you've still got loads of cotton left. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the clips off, keep the cotton in, place it back in where it was, making sure they were still in the right direction. And then you're going to get your next petal, which is going to, in my case, it's going to be this one. So now my cotton is actually here in the middle, but I'm going to show you how to move it to there. But the first thing to do is to get this outside petal and lay it right side of fabric to right side of fabric, laying it onto there. And again, you're going to put some quilters clips in it to stop it from moving. So now, as you can see, the cotton's in the wrong place because it's here and it needs to start here. So all you're going to do is you're going to put a little stitch into the middle. You're going to go up, halfway up the hexagon, and then you're going to put another one into here. That is what's called a whip stitch, and then you have got your cotton in the right position to start sewing down here and then up to here. So now we're going to carry on. So when you get into the middle, because this is what I call a junction, and it could have quite a lot of pressure put on this bit, just do that lock-in stitch over and over in there in that position to give it a bit more of strength. And then you're going to take these two clips off, and now it looks like that with a flappy bit here. So now you are going to place right side of fabric to right side of fabric, and put it there, and then you're going to put your clips on so that it doesn't move. And now we're going to carry on stitching up here. Remember those over and over stitches when you come to an end. So now it looks like that. This is actually quite a cute shape, because if you wanted to put a black little triangle here and one there, it would be a cute little butterfly. It is very, very sweet. So now we're going to place the next one, which is going to be there. We're going to do exactly the same process, where you're going to get right side of fabric to right side of fabric, you're going to place it on top of each other. You're going to put the quilter's clips in. And remember, the cotton, again, is in the wrong position because it's here and you want it to go to here. So you're going to do one little stitch over there, one little stitch in the middle, and one little stitch at the end, because then your cotton is in the right position. And then you're going to carry on sewing again. So as you can see, what is great about Hexiform, you can see how I'm holding it in my hand. I'm literally like screwing it up. Obviously, if you did that in paper piecing, it's going to really crease all the papers. But in Hexiform, it doesn't matter. So that's why it's so much softer on your hands. Now it's looking even more cute. Look, it even looks more like a butterfly. Very cute indeed. So now we're going to place the last one in, and you're probably wondering, how do we do that? Well, the first thing to do is, like we did before, you're going to place the right side of fabric to the right side of the fabric, and you're going to flip it to there, because we are going to stitch down here, we're going to move it, stitch down there, we're going to move it and stitch down there. So again, using your quilter's clips, clip it in place to hold it. And then we are now going to stitch down here. This one's quite difficult to clip because obviously it's in the middle, so where do you clip it? So what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to do it there, which kind of holds it in position. But obviously you are holding it with your hands anyway, so that should help you to stop it from moving. This is quite exciting because we're getting towards the end. You've just got now one bit to sew. So you're going to literally fold one on top of the other, so it makes a little shape like that. And you can definitely, with this one, put some clips in it to stop it moving. So I'm going to put one there, put one there, and now I'm going to stitch up here, which is the last bit. So there we are. So when you get to the end, again, you're going to do stitches over and over in the same position. At least 3. Then we're going to cut it. And you're going to take the clips off. And then you can see your lovely grandma's flower. I would definitely recommend that we iron this before we put it onto the tote bag. So now I have ironed it, and as you can see, it looks so much flatter, and that is what it looks like on the back. So as you can see, even though it's a hexagon shape, I originally started off with a square shape, so you do have some extra fabric on the back, which is fine. When you do, if you want to cut it into hexagons, you can do, but it doesn't really matter as long as you have enough fabric to cover the hexiform shape. This is the tote bag, and you're probably wondering, how can we get the grandma's flower on there in like a nice position? Obviously you can place it anywhere. You could, you know, put one up here and then another one down here and whatever you wanted to, but what we're going to try and do is put the grandma's flower right in the middle. So you're wondering, how do we do that? Well, I have a trick for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half in one direction, and then you can iron it, or you can actually finger press it, because if you finger press it, it will give it a line. As you can see, there is a line, and then we're going to fold it in the other direction. And we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to finger press it. That basically, finger pressing is just where you run your nails along it. That's all it is really. And it creates a cross in the middle, which is where we can place your grandma's flower. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the line that's coming down here to line up to there, and the line that's coming up here to line up to there. And then so you just got to shuffle that for now to there, and then you can have a look at this side to make sure it's halfway on there and halfway on there. If you want to get a ruler out and measure this, you're very welcome to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use my beady eyes. I think that's in a perfect position. So what you now need to do is you need to get your pins, and you need to pin this in place because it is going to move when you start to stitch it. So I'm going to put my hand inside the tote bag, and I'm just going to put a few pins on it. Now obviously, as this is a hand sewn tote bag, you might want to have your stitches showing because it's quite nice, I think, to have the stitches showing. So I would definitely start off in one of the corners here and put a couple of stitches into there. And what you're doing is you're going through the Hexiform, you're going through the fabric, and you are going through the tote bag as well. Now, once that is secure, you're going to keep stitching all the way around here. This, what we're doing now, is called applique. So we're appliquing the grandma's flower onto the tote bag. And as I've done this bit now, I'm going to take that pin out. You don't need to keep the pins in when you've stitched past it. Obviously getting down the bottom is going to be a bit difficult, so you are going to be literally screwing it up in your hand. And again, this is what is great about Hexiform, because it's like a wadding, and you can manipulate it. Just going to show you the inside because you can see that I'm literally like appliquing it on. You can't see the stitches that well, but you can see the pin, and you can see how I'm literally getting right inside the bag to applique onto. So we're getting quite close to the end now, which is very, very exciting. And you're back to the beginning, which is here. So I'm going to do a little stitch over and over, just in there, through the tote bag, through the Hexiform, through the fabric. And then I'm going to put my cotton through to the back and do a little knot stitch, and voila, that is done. So we had great fun sewing the grandma's flower onto a little tote bag, which is super, super useful. So now you can go ahead and make one yourself, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Come along to our first So Happy Quilters Association quilt show at Brighton Racecourse. Tickets available on our website. You can find the So Happy Quilters Association on social media, and don't forget to subscribe.